Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Reckless Optimist podcast. My name is Megan. I'm a family nurse practitioner with a deep passion for mental health. On this show, we showcase guests who have shown tenacity, grit, mental strength, and who embody the word resilience. A quick disclaimer before we start. This show is not a substitute for mental diagnosis or treatment. We do recommend that if you're struggling with your own emotional well-being, you see a mental health provider. I'm so excited that you guys are here. Let's get into it. Hey, everyone. Today on the podcast, we have Will. I met Will a few months ago. I was actually a guest on his podcast, which is called the Willpower Podcast. Amazing platform. Definitely check it out. And we just connected. He's got an amazing, hopeful story. His story is a lot of tragic events and a lot of sadness, but ultimately he was given a second chance on life. Will was dying, literally dying from his alcohol use disorder. He was in kidney failure, cirrhosis, his skin was yellow, and he was given 2 weeks left to live. And this man was able to get a transplant, a liver transplant, kidney transplant. He spent a long time in the hospital and did a lot of work to get to where he is now. But now he has this amazing calling and energy to help people who have been struggling with similar issues. And it's truly an honor to have him on the show. And I know you guys are going to love this story. Let's get into it. Hey, everyone. Help me welcome Will to the podcast.
Hey, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, Megan. I was really looking forward to jumping on your podcast now.
I know. This is a podcast flip. It's so much fun.
It's so much fun. We learn so much about each other by doing each other's podcast. And I really do. I always leave learning something new about my process by going on other shows and just talking.
Yeah, I love that. I love that we reconnected. I was on your show, I think it was back in January, and I had so much fun talking to you. I know a little bit about your story, but I have not heard the whole thing. So it's such an honor for you to come on this platform and share it with everyone. And you were just traveling. Where were you?
Yeah, my wife and I, we actually just got back from Hawaii, of all places.
Wow.
It was the first trip since everything that we went through, and I went through such a tough decade that this trip was just monumental, and it lived up to every expectation that I could imagine. Just my wife and I just traveling around Maui in a Jeep and just flying around the island, enjoying every little spot and avoiding the touristy things, but also finding ourselves and enjoying every moment, soaking it all in.
I have to tell you, the pictures that you posted, I actually cried seeing the picture of you on the beach. Just so much life in your eyes, knowing, you know, what happened to you and where you came from just a few years ago. I mean, we're going to get into your story, but you literally were on your deathbed. You were going to die. And now you're living this just beautiful life in recovery. And the pictures of you in Maui made me tear up.
Yeah, no, it made me tear up too, actually, when I was making like the little collage there. Because in those moments, they're so powerful and they're so meaningful, because when you're in a hospital bed for over a year, just waiting and not knowing if you're going to survive. And they gave me a 5 to 10% chance after all my complications there after the transplant. But we can actually start wherever you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to start our episode out like we do with a quote. And the quote for your episode, we actually were talking about this before we jumped on, is from Pema Chodron. Am I saying her name right?
Chodron, yeah.
Chodron, okay.
Yeah.
And she is an American Tibetan Buddhist, and you're actually very familiar with her, correct?
I am. I would say familiar, not very familiar. So when I did my Montessori secondary credentialing program in good state of Cincinnati, Ohio, it was an experience. And one of the coolest aspects of that experience was actually a big chunk of the pedagogy or the curriculum that they are teaching us as Montessori trained teachers. Is a lot of it was heavily influenced by Pema Chodron, and or just her books were incorporated within the lessons. And there was just so much of what she said that would like resonate with my heart and my soul, and it really just put me in an excited state to delve deeper into her books, into her wisdom that she so eloquently and poetically shares with all of us.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So this quote is from the book When Things Fall Apart, Heart Advice for Difficult Times. So the quote goes, "The most fundamental harm we can do to ourselves is to remain ignorant by not having the courage and the respect to look at ourselves honestly and gently." What does that mean to you?
So I've heard this quote before, actually, believe it or not. And in that book, by the way, When Things Fall Apart is like a killer book. Like that is a super great book to read when after grieving or when a loss of a parent or a friend. That's a very great book to pick up and to alleviate your anxiety and pain and suffering. But as far as the quote goes, when I reread it, I really focused on one word, and that's being kind to yourself and gently understanding yourself when you're experiencing something super challenging. In my situation, that would be sobriety. Every single step of my journey, I can relate to that because there were so many times I was being unfair to myself. There were so many times where I was being self-critical and blaming myself over and over, which just spirals you into a tailspin of regret, remorse, everything that you could have done. I wish I did it with my life in the past 10 years instead of drinking alcohol every day. To be a little kinder, a little gentler, understanding that was your journey. It went the way it did, but here you are now, man, and you should be a little kinder to yourself. There's so many times where I think that I am being harsh on myself. Oh, I can't believe you were that person. I can't believe you wasted all this. Instead of being like, oh, it's all right, man. This was your journey. You're a better person because of this experience that you went through. And sometimes, you have to hit those really low rock bottoms to see the light and to be a little gentler to everything in the world. People that you see in the street, situations that arise in your work-life balance, any of those things, just be a little kinder, a little gentler, and forgive yourself for your past regressions, because we all have them, and it's just a part of being human.
Yeah, the human experience. The two key words here for me were honestly and gently. Like those two words stuck out to me. Fierce self-discipline requires fierce self-compassion.
Yeah.
And you've got to have love for yourself and kindness for yourself when you misstep. While I'm a big fan of meditation and exercise and all of those things, and we should continue to do those things, the greatest lessons in life are adversity and life experiences. And
Totally.
so going through all of the things that you've gone through, that I've gone through, all of that helped me learn so much. The meditation helps a little bit, but those challenges, that's what really, really helps. And to not stay in your victimhood, but to grow from that.
That's really cool, Megan, that you just brought up that part of like how you treat your life as a classroom. So the guy that wrote that book back there, Ramdas, he would always elaborate on that. I also ascribe to that mentality. If you look at every challenge in your life as a curriculum, everything that gives you a sense of suffering or failure or it's super difficult and challenging, there's always a reason typically why. Overcoming those adversities in our life, you just treat it like a curriculum. I did not want my car to break down today, but maybe that's the universe or is teaching you right now that I need to be a little more patient and or be proactive. So there's always a mini lesson within every single failure that we have as humans.
Do you subscribe to the idea that you're going to keep getting the same like adversity or challenges until you learn your lesson?
100%, 100%. That golden rule that you just mentioned right there is so obvious. As humans, it's really hard for us to grasp that. If we keep doing the same things and expecting different results, that's crazy, right? And if you don't learn that lesson, whether that be stop hiding alcohol because she's going to find it, and then there's going to be another huge argument that piles on top of you already drinking, making the bad decision because I did not learn in that point in my life yet, right? I wasn't willing to learn yet. And then I would get the same results over and over, even deep down wanting to change this mindset and attitude that I was showing. It was really difficult for me because I still hadn't learned yet. And unfortunately, my learning process was drinking myself to 2 weeks left of my life. All the suffering that I had to endure and the people around me, especially like my personal inner circle, they had to watch me deteriorate and become this person that they didn't recognize anymore. That's hard for me to digest, but it was a learning process to get to where I am now and to appreciate life and all its beautifulness. That's what I always preach on my channels. You don't have to get to that point. Here's some pictures I can show you what I look like. It's very stark contrast when people tune into my show. That's really the most powerful message I can show them is you don't have to get this far. Just you can stop right now.
Yeah. I think of alcohol like a train on a destination. Some people can ride the train for a long time and never have any problems. Some people, they need to get off the train way sooner. Basically, the symbolism is it's a spectrum, but you can get off the train at any time. You can totally get off before the bad things happen.
Yeah, you can get off that train, and that train is going, not the destination that train is going. You don't want to be on that destination because that destination is scary. And I can tell you firsthand just how scary that actually looks like. I peered into the little tunnel with that train and was trying to get off for a very long time. I would say most of from 26 to 36, so about 10 straight years of severe alcohol abuse.
Yeah. This is a great segue. Let's get into your story. Just start wherever you feel comfortable.
Sure. So I would say my journey begins at age 14. So I was the youngest of 4 brothers. We were super competitive, really an athletic family. outgoing, hardworking, all those attributes that you can associate with being like successful in life. My dad really instilled that with us in a very young age. He was very strict, but also loving. My mother also very similar. A lot of expectations to live up to. My dad was like a very successful Hall of Fame hockey coach. He did all these things. He was a teacher just like myself. And I was always trying to be my best self for him, but it was really hard. It was really difficult because I was more of like this creative person. But alcohol for me, it didn't make me hide my like creative personality, the things I wanted to say. All of a sudden I started drinking and I became more popular. Like, all these things were new and exciting and fun, and I enjoyed the feeling of it mostly. Understanding that I had a beer, we were all sharing it around with my friends, beer that we probably stole out of someone's fridge, and we cracked it. And I remember I went to drink it, and immediately I just went, whoa, like I drank the whole thing trying to be cool. And I understood that not only did it make my friends like me more, it also made me funnier. It made me a little sillier. It made me all feel better. Little did I know that the biological predispositions that I did have, because my father was a big drinker, his father was a big drinker. Like, is there an actual biological predisposition? I lean on towards yes, because of I felt it and I didn't understand any of it. I'm 14 years old. How can I already want more of this? But yeah, so demanding family, really loved alcohol, really liked how it made me feel. There wasn't many issues as far as getting into trouble. Even when I was at my lowest of lows, I still wasn't getting into trouble. I was like a secluded alcoholic. I would put myself into a room and drink myself until I fell asleep basically every night. It was awful. Yeah, so college is when it starts to get a little out of control. I'm still showing up for classes, but I'm noticing a trend that I'm picking my classes later and later throughout the semester. And then by spring, I don't have anything before 10:30 a.m. And I knew that that was weird at the time. Like, why am I pushing back my classes already? Only 20 years old, and I'm already using alcohol, like making room for it. And that's what I always say to people when I do my sober mentoring program. I tell them, how much space is it having in your life? Because if you're making space for alcohol, then that's too much space, right? Alcohol should be a complementary thing, right? If anything, if you use it at all, I would suggest don't do it. But that's because I have obviously a very different history than most. You just gotta watch it. How much space is it living in your life? Because it can get really out of control super quick, like it did for me. So college, I'm going along. I remember I had a girlfriend at the time. She was from Minnesota, actually, and we met studying abroad. And I remember getting really drunk one night and being super insecure. Every issue that we have when we have substance abuse issues, there's a hole in your life that you're trying to fill with this substance, right? Like, what's making you feel less than? Why do you have an insecurity issue? Why do you feel you have anxiety all the time? There's something going on in your life and you need to address that. But we don't really do that at the ages of 21, 22, because we're just not that self-aware. Well, at least I wasn't, at least. And then I would find myself like harping back to that first part of the conversation that we had about not learning. Your mistakes will follow you if you don't learn. And that's what kept happening. I would drink too much. I would make a fool out of myself. I would embarrass myself. And then I noticed that my tight group of friends, they started to like distance themselves a little further and a little more, because they started noticing my behavior when I was really drinking so much that they were just sick of it. They were tired of dealing with me all the time. And it got to the point where my best friend and I, we never had one altercation. We never had any fights. He said, I put beers on his tab, because that's what I would do. I'd do like sketchy, stupid things when I was drinking. I hated myself. I was so ashamed of who I was when I was drinking. I would hear all these stories, post-party stories. I would have this like self-fulfilling hatred towards them being upset with this. And then that would clash, and I'd be like, what is going on here? Like, I'm so messed up in the head. But I wasn't willing to address the facts. Okay, well, what do I need to focus on? I need to do therapy. I need to talk to someone. I need to stop drinking. That's what needed to happen. Unfortunately, that did not happen, and it would continue to get worse and worse. But I did meet my now wife in 2016, and she really changed everything. I was still very broken at that time. I was drinking a lot still. I would, at this point, I wasn't having to like drink right before we did things, but there were times where she would come home from work and I would have a buzz going already. Weird things like that. She wasn't too alarmed at first, a couple times, because you just lie. That's what I was doing. I would be like, oh no, this is leftover from a party. But eventually she would just see it in me. Like, my face would change. As much as you think you can hide alcohol in your system, like, you just can't. Like, whether that's the it coming out of your pores, or like the bloatedness or the redness. Like there's so many telling signs of alcohol in your system. I always thought I was so sly, so slick. Like I'm getting away with it. I'm so good at this. Like, and I was just, little did I know, like, I'm hurting my wife. I'm hurting myself, like physically, mentally, emotionally. And I still can't get off the booze. I started to really, really try, and I did. I went 125 days sober, and it was impossible because I had no support group. I was going to AA, but I was resentful that I was in AA. All the things they tell you not to do when you get sober, I was doing all the opposite things. And still resentful, still not learning my lesson, and not being grateful, not being loving. I wasn't doing any of these things. And then the drinking and the insecurity. I was a teacher and I felt like a phony because I would come home and I'd be so bombed because I just want to get through the day. And then I would resent my job, and then I wouldn't make enough money. And then this like cycle of unpleasantness, suffering, it's just like compounds on top of each other. And then the alcohol you pour on top of that just makes it, for that brief 3 hour, 4 hour when you're awake, because I would drink to just fall asleep. I just didn't want to be anyone's issue. I just wanted to just get my drink in and then fall asleep, not think about my life and like all the things I have to fix. And that's what basically kept happening. So I did 125 days. My wife was there. She was super supportive, but she's not an alcoholic. She hardly drank. So it was really difficult for her to comprehend what I was going through, the physical dependency of it now, the emotional dependency of it, the release when you just pick up the glass itself, like stuff like that. Like she didn't know that kind of stuff. How would she? So it was really hard for her to understand that kind of thing. And I didn't do a good job of expressing it and being more vulnerable in those situations and being like, I really am struggling. I think I need to go to an inpatient place or something, right? But I thought it was too cool for school. I thought I'll figure it out. I'm the youngest of 4 boys. I was kind of like the glue. So I did 125 days sober, and it was amazing. My relationship got better. My physical fitness got better. I started to lose weight, feel a little more confident now. This is great. But the anxiety and the physical dependency and just the mere boredom of not drinking, people don't realize just how powerful that is after you stop drinking. Like you're grieving a friend. Pretty much that's how it feels. So I had that resentment there, like everyone can still have a good time but not me. Like what is going on, right? I wasn't ready to say I had an issue yet. It was just crazy when the denial that we showcase to ourselves and others when we're really in the thick of it with alcohol addiction. So 125 days go on, huge fight. This is like one of the biggest fights my wife and I ever had. It was over some kind of issue with bills and money. It was always so blow up, not knowing what to do. What does someone do when they don't know what to do? The first thing they run to is a solution, which the solution was alcohol, but it wasn't solving any of my problems. It just made them worse. And then that second that I made the thought, it came into my head and I said, oh God, like I did 125 days. Like clearly I'm fixed, and I didn't have the strength. And I'll never forget, I hate talking about this, but it's important that I do, I'll never forget the feeling of going into, like, knowing that, okay, I made a decision now, and now I'm going to actually go through with it. And it was weird the way I approached it. I went in like I was 18, had a fake ID or whatever. And I get the alcohol. It was like a bottle of Pink Whitney, believe it or not. So I tried to get something with like not that hard alcohol concentration to prove to myself, like I don't need something hard, even though that's hard alcohol. I don't know what my mind processes was thinking at that time. Well, I get the bottle, I give him cash. Like I don't want any transactions on my card or anything. Nervous I was about the whole experience. And I go home and I actually didn't drink. I had it sit in my room under a pile of clean laundry that I just didn't put away. And I just sat there and I looked at it for a week. And then eventually it just, you can't have alcohol. If you have any sort of issues with alcohol, you can't have it in your line of sight ever. At that point in my life, I couldn't see it. The pull was too strong. All those problems were just compounding. And I knew that this would make me feel better. I mean, it really did. That second that I had it, and I remember it being cold still, which was strange. Like it almost was like evil alcohol. Like there's an energy to it that was cold, and to have these sensations when you drink something and you're coming right back into the demon, you're going back to the devil pretty much. And that's what happened. And from that second, it was off to the races. It was like I never got off the wagon. I mean, I never fell off the wagon. I like scraped my jaw. I like broke all my limbs. Like that's how bad the fall off the wagon was. It was almost like I was trying to prove to myself at that point, wow, you're such a loser. Like it was such self-deprecating hatred towards myself. Like you're such a loser. I cannot believe you would do this. What kind of person would do this? Your wife doesn't deserve you. Your family should just disown you. Like all these horrible thoughts, and then they would just start swirling and swirling. I was like switching all these teaching jobs throughout these years, and it got to a point where I was like, oh God, like I'm sick. I knew it. Like I could feel it. My skin was getting yellower. I was 260 pounds. Like I'm 180 now. So it just shows you the stark contrast of like how much alcohol was destroying my body. And that's what it was doing. So my wife said enough. You have to go see what's going on. Your skin looks yellow. I remember one of my students, just a core memory that I'll never forget, like such a humiliating feeling. One of my students was like, Mr. Gordon, you look like a Simpsons character. And it was like a dagger to my soul. I cannot believe this. Like, look what the situation is happening. One of my students is making a joke and not understanding the volume, the heaviness of the situation, just how life or death this was for me. So that job, I eventually got too sick. I was teaching alternative education, high school social studies at the time. And yeah, I got too sick. I had to go to the hospital, and it was really tough. I was going back and forth. I was really trying to remain sober. I was going to AA meetings. Once I felt my liver actually hurting, I was actually pain on my liver, I just said, I don't want to be anyone's burden anymore. I'm just going to drink myself to death. And that was the intention. And I remember driving one day, and my seatbelt was cutting into my liver, and I said to myself, I don't want to be a burden on anyone else anymore. That's how it felt. Like, my drinking was so strange in the sense that I just didn't want to be anyone's burden anymore. And finally, I'm so sick that my kidneys aren't waking up at this point. I'm jaundiced, I'm yellow, I'm going through so much at this point. And then I finally check into the hospital, and they're doing all these tests, and they're saying your kidneys aren't working now. And then they have hospice in the room because you have to be 6 months sober to get to a liver transplant. They wouldn't transplant me because I was 4 months sober. I was drinking up until January 28th, 2023. And then on May 2nd of 2023 is when I had the liver transplant. So that whole time I was in the hospital, and I was in the hospital before that too. So I drank myself up to 2 weeks left of my life. On purpose, pretty much, because I didn't want to be alive anymore. And so there I am in a room. My father, who passed away a year ago, he was my bull. He was like just such a great role model. And he's looking at me, and he can't believe it. And my mother is in disbelief as well. And then there's the doctor, and I were just staring at each other. And I said, so I'm going to be dead in 3 weeks? And she's like, yes, if we don't find an emergency deceased donor right away. And I remember like the floor dropping away underneath me. I'm on dialysis at this point. I have like my little ports and just dealing with all this. And then finally they call you up, and they say, okay, I think you have a liver that's ready. And then in my story didn't get any better, man. Like, I went down, I got prepped. I'm in the thing, I'm saying my goodbyes to my family. And then at the very 12th hour, they say, this liver's actually not looking great. It's a little too big for your body. And then I had to go right back up to my room and just go through it all again. But eventually did get the liver. I was so sick. I had a MELD score of 40. So I get the liver. I come out of it. I cannot believe I'm alive. As I come out of it, I'm looking at my wife, and we have this very powerful moment where I'm coherent enough to look at her and to understand the gravity of the situation, and that I'm alive still. I can't believe it. I mean, the surgery was like 13 hours long. I'm alive. And then next thing I know, I'm rehabbing, and something just goes horribly wrong. It could have been just I was so sick, or just the amount of alcohol abuse on my stomach lining that my stomach burst as I was rehabbing from the liver transplant. So there I am, literally dying. I go into septic shock. My colon completely burst, and filth and all the waste is pouring through my body. I'm getting confused. I'm in septic shock. I don't know where I am. I feel like I'm dying. They actually told me later on, this is all post the transplants, that I have 10 to 15% chance of surviving. That's how bad it was. Doctors, the surgeons at UMass Memorial, thank you for them. They're the kindest souls on earth. They saved my life, and they were smart. They grabbed me, and they did an emergency ileostomy surgery. It's awful. It's really embarrassing to be 36 years old as a male and have that. Am I going to have this for the rest of my life? And they said, no, we'll try to reverse it in 6 months. And they actually did reverse it. Praise the Lord. But as this is going on, I am still in a bed every day on dialysis for 4 hours because my kidneys were just not working. They weren't waking up after the transplant. They were already shutting down before the transplant. So I was on dialysis for an entire year. And that's why that quote, when we started talking about it, was really powerful to me, because that 1 year of sitting and reflecting, because that's all you have is 4 hours every day in this chair with blood just cycling through a machine and back into you. There's so much self-reflection time, and that's when I actually did the work to figure out, like, okay, man, you got to be a little kinder to yourself, a little more gentle, a little more forgiving, like keyword there, forgiving about this whole experience, because no one would wish this upon anyone. You're still here, you're still alive. What are you going to do with that? And then I finally got the gift of my second birthday, the second life. It was my kidney transplant on March 15th of 2024. That was just a year ago now. And ever since then, I take good care of my body. Now I eat better. I make sure that I have plenty of like nutrients. I'm on crazy medication for the rest of my life, and it messes up your brain, makes you have brain fog. It's called tacrolimus medications, depressant medications. So to make your liver and kidney not reject your body, and you have to be on that for the rest of your life. So you always have that in your mind, like, okay, did I forget my dose? But also this little green bracelet, I never take it off. It's like the most important thing I have, honestly. It's a constant reminder of all of the people, the two souls that had to pass away for me to continue on living my life. And it's a constant reminder of you have an honor, you have a responsibility. You need to be the best version of yourself for these two people and for yourself and for my wife and for my family and for all the people that I mistreated over the years with my alcohol addiction. And to be a proponent now of spreading the word and letting people know that this is an issue. It's a lot of people are suffering in silence like I was. I wasn't getting into trouble. I wasn't like getting thrown into police. A lot of people who are alcoholics like myself are very quiet drinkers. We're just kind of off the grid a little bit. We don't necessarily fall within guidelines of what an alcoholic looks like, right? I was a teacher. I was going to work. I had a car. And I had like all these things, right? I had a good family. I have a wonderful, wonderful wife who's the most supportive, loving soul on the planet. And I still believe that without her, I would not be here. So, and that's why I constantly praise her in my posts and stuff like that on Instagram. She probably drives her nuts, but I always do that because she's my angel. She's the most important thing to me. So, but yeah, my story is tragic, but at the very end, it's also a very hopeful story because when you're told you have 2 weeks left of your life, what would you do in that situation? After I woke up from the transplant, I said, what do you do with your life? You have to give back now. Like, just be grateful, show love, show compassion, tell the world about what to avoid, how to not make the mistakes that I did. And that's what I'm doing with my channel now, which is the good part, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, your story is wild. There's so many twists and turns, and to see you now, I've only known you on this side of recovery, and I know the work that you do, and you hustle in the world of recovery, and you're really passionate about getting the message out and helping people. And it all kind of makes sense. All the stuff that you went through has given you this sense of purpose now. I remember when I did my interview with you and I was telling you about my spiritual awakening, and you told me about yours that you had in the hospital, and that you had this just deep sense that you need to go out and help people after everything that you'd been through. And I thought that was just such a beautiful moment in your story.
So I actually tell you a little bit further about that story. So as I was going into septic shock, and I remember it was really, really in and out, like, am I alive? Am I dead? I don't know. But I call it God, call it whatever you want. I believe it was a higher power. Honestly, felt like love energy. That's what it felt like. It felt like getting a hug. And it was telling me to just smile, laugh, do those things, think that way. And the more I was like, ha, 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 like laughing, the higher I could see myself rising. And the more I thought negatively, which is really easy to do when you're in a hospital bed, I started realizing I was going further down, which was like, oh, no. I want to go towards the light. I don't want to go against it. And then I had this very conscious decision in that moment of whatever this transcendent experience that I was experiencing, that you aren't done. You have to continue on with your life, and now you need to approach your life from a serving standpoint. That's your mentality now. You need to serve others, love others, spread knowledge, wisdom to the people that may be not catching it or just missing it, or there's just too much space in their life with altering psychological substance that you're putting in your body, whether that be cocaine, alcohol, marijuana, whatever. They're all interrelated in some way or another because you're trying to escape something from your life that you're not trying to deal with right now. And that's really scary.
Yeah, I think what's so interesting about your story is that you came back from your deathbed. I think a lot of people stay drinking because they think they've gone too far and that their alcoholism has gone too far on the train, so to speak, of that metaphor. But I've seen it even in my medical practice, and you're a perfect example of that. Someone that had cirrhosis and needed a liver transplant, needed a kidney transplant, and you were able to come through those things and now live a life in recovery. So just for the listeners, like, you are never too far gone. You can still get help, and you can still get sober, and you can live a beautiful life in recovery.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the times it's honestly easier to just die. I mean, I'm not kidding. I know that sounds kind of crazy, like a weird thing to say, but a lot of people, when they get to the point where I was, because I was next to them, I saw them, they actually did pass away. So they were saying that's just too much work. Or the doctors would even say, like, I don't think the body could handle it. Like, and I was so sick, but because of my age at 36 at the time, I'm 38 now. So I was willing to put the work in, the amount of friggin' work it took to get to where I am right now. And the continuing process of being on immunosuppressant medications for the rest of my life. If I forget it and I don't have it with me for a week, my body will go into organ rejection, and then I'm right back into square one. So it's like, there's no second shot at this. This is my life now. I have to approach it with kindness, warmth, gentleness, passion, compassion. That's what I'm trying to do now, because that's my path now. That's my journey. That's what's I owe it to the people that allow me now to have more breaths and have more smiles and laughter and love. I'm just so happy that I'm still here. I cannot believe I'm still here. I really cannot believe I'm still here. And it's conversations like this that really hone it in, bring it all into reality again. And so thank you, Megan, for actually having me on this platform to get into this space again.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you some follow-up questions. My first one is the donor family. Have you ever met them, reached out to them? Any connection there with the liver and the kidneys that you got?
So, good question. The first opportunity I had to write to the donor family, I did. So right when I got home, they're like, okay, here's 2 cards. Because of HIPAA, you cannot know the name. You can't know the name of the donor's family or what their names are, or the only thing they can tell you is the sex and the age. So my donor was a male from Pennsylvania who was 10 years young. No, my liver donor was a man from Pennsylvania. The kidney was a female from New York that was 10 years younger than me. So I don't know what happened to them. However, I did write 2 beautiful cards. I have never heard anything back from that liver one, which was, really a bummer. But that's their family's process. That's that's how they're grieving. They don't want anything to do with that. I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic that the future might bring new blessings as far as them reaching back out. But the kidney, on the other hand, they have reached out to me. They have read my letter, and they do want to have some phone conversations really soon.
Wow.
But it's up to them. I can't wait, because that to me is going to make it all very, very real. When I see the other families and talk to them, I think that would be a huge wonderful thing, because it makes it real. I'm looking forward to those conversations, and I can't wait to continue the correspondence if they allow it.
How has your relationship with your wife changed now in recovery?
Oh my gosh, it's like my wife says that on May 2nd, 2023, she got the husband that she always wanted, always was looking for, always waiting out.
That makes me cry.
Yeah. She knew I was under there. I was under that. I looked. I was me. I was there. I was hiding. And she knew that. And she was willing to put the work in. And her patience at most would just give up, leave. That would have been very easy. But she decided not to. And that's why I'm here. She said that she got the husband that she was always wanting. And she always knew that I had the potential to be. And we still have our fights, our normal, silly, stupid things. Like, no marriage is perfect, of course. But if anything, we're more communicative, we're more open, we're more vulnerable in our conversations. We're just excited about life again, because now we have the opportunity to spend it the way that we were initially meant to spend these years together, and we're taking full advantage of that. In no time is lost with us. We're constantly go, but we are so in love with each other. Our marriage has grown exponentially, honestly, in every aspect. Ever since I stopped drinking, every single thing in our relationship has gotten better. The patience, the love, the not resenting each other. There's so much to be gained by giving up alcohol. If alcohol is somewhat of an issue in your relationship, everyone out there is some kind of pull there, and there is some negativity associated with the alcohol in the home. Get rid of it. Just get rid of it for a month, 2 months, 3 months. See how you feel. See if the relationship improves. It might not at first. Those first 3 months, if you're both not using it, might get really tricky and hard. Just wait and watch and see what happens.
Yeah, that's really good advice. It's interesting. You went through a lot, obviously. Rough upbringing, and the alcohol use really ramped up. And now you have this second chance at life, which in some ways is such a blessing. Most people kind of just float through life without any drive or passion. They're just floating. And now you have this second chance on life, and I can see the energy inside of you. So what is your plan moving forward? What's your plan for your life? What's your plan for recovery?
Yeah, I will never stop being a teacher, but I would really love to do this full time, just help others, be a voice for the voiceless, the people who are silently suffering with alcoholism. Creating my brand, the Willpower podcast, it's all great and everything, but the message is what really is what's most impactful and powerful. Is don't have to be who I was. You don't have to make decisions I did. If you are showing any kind of signs, like if you're drinking like this or hiding this, that's what I try to advocate. Don't hide it. Embrace it. Be vulnerable. Let everyone know, especially yourself, that you do have an issue and you have to address it, whether that be through therapy, through a support group. There's so much support groups. So get involved. But yeah, as far as I go, I would love to do this full time. I'm in the process of going back to get my master's because I never did that because I was always under the influence pretty much. I didn't have the drive, the motivation, or the brain capacity, honestly, to be able to grapple grad school and work at the same time. Now I'm going to do it. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to get my master's in social work, specification in alcohol addiction. And that will hopefully make the podcast even better because I'll be able to be a little more self-aware in the medical things and the counseling, therapy, all that terminology is so important and vital to know when you're talking to someone who is struggling. So I'm really excited to do that.
I encourage you, keep going. I love your platform. I love your podcast. You do an amazing job. And I'm just starting out in this arena.
And let me say to you, Megan, you are already better than I am. I was listening to your I went to the most recent episode, and you have everything is better. You have an intro. You're explaining who your guests are. I still don't do any of that. I try to get it all in like in the beginning, like an idiot. So right away, kudos to you because your format is already so much more far along than I.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
So great job.
That's what's so cool about this arena though is that we're both in it to help people. It's not a competition. Like I want to see what is the quote where like both boats rise. You know what I mean?
A rising tide lifts all boats.
There you go. Yeah. So and we're all on the same team. We all have the same ultimate goal of helping people and that altruism. So
absolutely, yeah. If you lose any of that, people are really smart. They'll sniff it out right away. You need to be all in for the right reasons. The people that are in this game for the wrong reasons really irk me the wrong way. So like someone like yourself, who has so much medical history and knowledge, I mean, you're a perfect candidate. Like I love that you had the courage to pick up the mic and start talking into it and really sharing some vulnerable, honest conversations that people really don't have enough. So I'm excited to see where your podcast goes.
Thank you. It's been an honor. It's been really cool. And I'm sure you can relate to this, to meet all of these people. I mean, some people are in my network that I've interviewed, but just making these connections across the world. And it's cool because you're finding stories of hope and you're getting those stories out there to further spread hope. And that is just a cool message that I'm proud to be a part of.
Yeah. Well, I am so on board with like what we're doing in our community that we're kind of building together. Honestly, I mean, all the people that I really respect I noticed that we're friends with the same kind of people. So that's really cool. And I totally agree that we're all lifting each other up in some way or another with this thing, because it doesn't matter what you did, where you are, what kind of money you have, a job you have, profession, whatever. Alcoholism, it does not discriminate. It does not discriminate. So to be very mindful of that. If the drinking is too much, taking up too much space in your life, find out why that space is being filled with this one substance, whatever it may be. Yeah. And there's always so much support, so much help, so much support out there. So just jump on, hit up anyone that is in this kind of community. Yeah. And
a lot of people that need help look like someone that doesn't need help, you know? So, I mean, I think it's so good for us to have this platform and discuss all of these things, because that helped me so much when I was struggling, is finding blogs and listening to podcasts and being like, oh, I'm not alone. I don't have to suffer in silence, because that isolation that you do and feeling like you're the only one in the world who has this problem just furthers the problem and furthers the shame. And then you're just stuck in this cycle, you know?
Yeah, when you think like, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I like this? That's awful thinking. You can't think that way, because trust me, if you're dealing with it, someone else is dealing with it too. That is just by statistically the odds are with you on that one, right? There's 6 billion people or 7 billion people now. Like, trust me, if you're going through some kind of issue and you think it's just you, it is not. And there's help everywhere.
You just got to ask for it.
Yeah.
You got to get out of your own head.
But that's the thing, though. It has to inevitably come down to the person experiencing the issue and wanting to change. That's the thing, you have to want to change. I was wanting to change. However, by the time I was wanting to change, I was so very ill and sick and everything that it became, like, honestly, alcohol is such a depressant that it became a depressant, and it made me think that I would rather be dead. Like, that's what eventually happened with me. Yeah. Which is crazy. Yeah. Crazy when you think about, like, a substance did that.
Yeah. But chemically, that's what it does, you know, in your body. When you think about it that way, it was doing what it was meant to do. But we're so inundated with messages that it's not for that. It's to make you happy and fun and sexy sexy when in fact it does the opposite of that. But like to tie it back into the quote that we started the episode with, I mean, yeah, you have to be honest and gentle with yourself about these things, you know?
Yeah, being super honest, like honesty and sobriety are like, they go like this. Like there is no sobriety without honesty and being, you know, living up to the person that you like everyone knows what's right and wrong. And it's like, do you make these decisions most of the time to the right or the wrong? And alcohol for me just feels wrong. It just feels wrong now, right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't, it ruins so much of my life. 10 years of the prime of my life just now.
Yeah.
Because of my alcohol addiction.
But
And-
now you got a second chance.
But now I got a second chance,
got
Megan.
fire.
And
You
now I
got
get to spread the
fire.
gospel of just don't drink. And if you
Hallelujah.
do, please do not do, you know, what I did, because you don't want to end up in a hospital bed for a year and get almost 2 weeks left of life and have to experience that with your family.
Yeah. Well,
It's
I'm
something like it's hard to even, you know,
yeah.
still.
Yeah, it's an honor to share the gospel with you. We have made it to our lightning round of our episode. So I ask the same 5 questions to every guest. And the first question is, if you're given 3 options and you have to pick one, would you shark dive, bungee jump, or skydive?
Well, I've already skydived, so
Okay.
I will shark dive. That sounds really cool.
Okay, all right, good answer. Number 2, you're in a simulation. Every time you walk into a room, the same song plays. What's your song?
Oh man, this is easy. I would say probably, because it has to deal with my situation, I would say Alive by Pearl Jam.
It's a good one. An oldie, a good one. Number 3, what is your favorite Disney movie?
I would say my favorite was, honestly, my favorite is actually Moana. I love Moana. The music's great. The story's great. The animation's great. The songs are so good. The second one, on the other hand, not so much.
I agree with you. And some other people have said this on the show, and I'm like, yeah, Moana won all day.
It didn't have like the heart that I enjoyed from the first one. You know?
It's hard. I think Frozen is really the only second movie I've ever liked. All right.
And if we're talking really Disney movies, I would make maybe Mighty Ducks, because I'm a huge hockey nut. So
Yeah,
Mighty
that was a
Ducks, Mighty
good
Ducks
one.
2, really good. Mighty Ducks 3, even kind of good. But
So
they didn't play
true.
much hockey.
So
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Number 4, what is something you're obsessed with?
I'm obsessed with, golf. I love golf. Yeah. Now, like I have like a healthy body and I'm able to walk 18 holes. I can
Okay.
actually do it, so I'm enjoying it. And it's really self-reflective and like meditative. Like I think a lot of people think of golf in like as like, oh, what an arrogant this thing that's, you know, no. Like there's a lot of, you're in nature, there's a lot of meditative, there's a lot of like I use it as like meditation almost in a way.
Yeah.
That's why I enjoy it so much. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a hard sport.
It's super hard. It's very difficult.
I live
yeah.
on a golf course, and it seems like most people are really bad at golf.
Have you gotten a ball through the window yet?
Three broken windows. My house is constantly hitting. I'm like, you guys, the little thing you're supposed to put it in is the other direction.
It's not this direction. It's not my kitchen sink. It's actually.
I was in my driveway, and so someone had hit it so far that it went over my house and almost hit me in the driveway.
That would scary. That's
Yeah,
really scary.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was upset, but
Did they
I
yell
li-
4 at least?
no, I went back there with the ball, and I was like, you guys, you almost hit me. Okay, number 5. What does freedom mean to you?
Freedom to me means doing what you enjoy doing and that you have a talent in doing, and being able to make it self-sufficient. I honestly think like I've so not enjoyed having a boss my entire life, and I've always wanted to be my own boss. So I feel like having the authority and the autonomy over my life and what I choose to do and the job I pick and being good at the job, but also being passionate about the job. But it's just being able to be autonomous over your life, like not have to be beholden on someone else, like, but being able to just kind of express yourself creatively and authentically. That's what it comes down to. Never lose. I remember I got this piece of advice one time, like never lose what made you special as a child when you get older as an adult. Keep that inner child spark, because that spark is actually one of the most redeemable qualities of all peoples. Be more like a child and then experience life like a child, and you get a lot out of life, and then life starts feeling like it did when you were a child, because you're
I
acting
love
as
that.
Isn't that cool? Yeah.
My wallpaper on my phone is me as a child to remember that. Exactly.
Yes.
What you're
Oh,
saying.
it drives my wife crazy. She thinks I'm like a sociopath. Like I have pictures of myself and I'm like 5, 6, like I'm eating cereal in the fridge. And she's like, why do you do that? I'm like, it actually reminds me of I need to be more like this little guy,
Childlike,
like eating
yeah.
Cheerios and like smiling at the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on. I really, really appreciate you being open, honest, vulnerable, courageous, just sharing all parts of your story. You didn't hide anything. You didn't hold anything back.
No, that's my
Yeah.
thing. I try really not to hold anything back. Vulnerability is connection. And when you open yourself up to someone that you trust, like I trusted you right away, Megan, after we had our conversation on my podcast, and I felt compelled to want to come on yours, and I really enjoy who you are in what you're doing and like the person that you are. So it was really easy for me to open up and be vulnerable on a situation like this, just because of the person that you are. So
Thank you. Your story's
yeah.
going to help so many people. And I
I
just want to
sure
thank
hope
you
so.
from the bottom of my heart. And I can't wait to see you crush all of your goals.
Thank you, Megan. I so appreciate that. And thank you,
All right.
everyone, for getting this far and actually listening to me talk forever.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.